During this video, we're gonna see an amazing scandal that we have in the ground of America. Richard Nixon was president until 1975, and you're gonna know why. He was one of the most beloved presidents of the United States. Actually, he won the second presidency with almost 49 of 50 states. He was amazingly loved with the people because he was a simple man, not a political guy, not a political super millionaire guy. So people love him. And suddenly he was discovered spying on his enemy side, on the Democrat Party, George McGovern. He had some office on the Watergate hotel, this beautiful hotel that we have in here. Really nice food and really nice place to stay if you want to go, because it's open right now. A really big scandal appeared a few months before the election of Richard Nixon. Election that he won during the second presidency of Richard Nixon was the hell of the time. As always, we're gonna start from the beginning. We're talking about 1972. America had a really big, long war against Vietnam, war that wasn't going really nice. A few years before, John F. Kennedy died in a shooting. Then the Americans had a really big war against the Vietnamese people, and they were losing. In that context, Richard Nixon, he was a really nice, super simple man from the Republican Party. The first presidency was really fine. Actually, people loved him. But the second, he was super paranoid. 1 year after, there was a really big leak in the Pentagon. Yes, the Pentagon. We know about the Pentagon. They're always on something. In that leak appears something that nobody expected, is that the president was lying to the people. In that time, they believe every single word of the president. The president never lies. The FBI never lies. The CIA never killed nobody. Actually, well, yes, they some people. And the only people that here is the military, of course. But people were super naive and they believe everything. A president shouldn't be lying, never, in any case. And the people, they're going to believe everything that he said. Richard Nixon was something like an imposter syndrome. That syndrome that some people have when they're going in one place that they're not placed for them, or they're new. For example, if you're president of the United States, he never believed in himself completely. He needs some motivational classes, the motivational classes that we have in this. He wasn't completely sure about his position. He won in 49 out of 50 states in the United States. Actually, he was the most voted president in America. He was super afraid that the Democratic people, they're going to say in the campaign that the Vietnam War is going to be a problem, and the Vietnam War, we're gonna lose this one. George McGovern, the Democratic candidate for president, come on, Nixon. In the presidential discussion, you can say, we need to stay in Vietnam because of the right of the people, because of... it was so simple as that. No, he wanted to spy to the enemy party, to the Democratic Party, to George McGovern. He sent a few spies. These were the 5 spies Richard Nixon sent to the Democratic Party. In the 1971 Pentagon leak that we were talking about a few seconds ago, and it seems that you're not paying any... He created some kind of funny people, really shady people, known as the plumbers. Why the plumbers? Because they need to fix leaks that they have around the Pentagon. That in that time everybody knew about it, okay? But it doesn't matter. They have this shadow of people discovering that during war, the president, even Kennedy, that was Democratic, they were talking something different to the information that they have stored in the Pentagon. Oh, I'm so scared about this government. In that time, people believe completely in the stuff that the president are going to tell you, because the president is the law. He was completely paranoid, knowing that we have the imposter syndrome, knowing that he never trusts in himself of winning, super afraid, super paranoid. So he started to work with people, lumpens, marginals. They used to work for the CIA, one of those. The other one was a keymaker. That was the one that opened the door. A journalist, a YouTuber, an Instagrammer. They had some kind of preparation, but they weren't the best. Ex-CIA CIA, ex-FBI, but they were ex because they were a disaster as a spy, and so you're gonna see why. They had two intrusions inside the hotel. The first one was in 28th of May of 1972. That was the first intrusion that they had to install microphones inside the office of the George McGovern inside the Watergate hotel. Well, we need to talk about a little bit about this hotel because it was a little bit special. The Watergate hotel, it wasn't just a simple hotel that you can go with your boyfriend or girlfriend and have a beautiful and lovely night. It was a hotel. You can have offices. Yes, it was a working place. You can have Congress talking. You can have presentation. It was a really complex hotel. So that's why the Democratic Party had their own office over there. Really nice pools and sauna, all the stuff. They installed some special kind of box or microphones. They were connected to the electricity of the telephone and they transmitted to one nearby vehicle. Most of the cases could be a really big truck, a lavender truck, a vacuum cleaner. But they had a few issues the first installation that they had. These kind of microphones, they don't have a really big reach. It's something like a small antenna, like a small radio, but this size, they're really small. And also the shape of the hotel, this kind of double C that it has, it was super difficult to make transmission with this small box that they're having. 17th of June 1972. It sounds like a Back to the Future movie, but it wasn't. And these five guys, the shady guys, tried to make the same stuff at the beginning. They entered to those places disguised as working people. That was a really nice idea. They put some duct tape in the door so the door won't close in the meantime of the working. And they were working with no lights. That was the reason of why the first installation was a disaster. They working with no lights. Guys, if you want to work in a spy and install some box, there's some kind of problem with the installation. We need to change that, and we need to put some box on the system because we need to hear. The security guard was walking around and said, "Oh my God, there is a duct tape in the door. I'm going to take it out." He took it out, and then he was walking around, chilling around, silent, instant, and he came back and he saw the same duct tape in the same place. So he said, "You know what? I'm gonna call the police." I don't know. Was it Southern? No, it was what? He talked like this because he's coming from Texas. And the police detained those people and all the stuff. The scandal started. The first scandal was published by the Washington Post. He said that it was a robbery. They tried to install some microphones inside the office of the Democratic Party, George McGovern. That was a really big scandal. But it didn't stop the campaign for Nixon. Nixon was driving into oh my God, these idiot people. He won the presidency again. Some of them, they say, yes, I work for Nixon. No, I was just stealing stuff because I like to place microphones into the office people. Why they started to talk? Because the Nixon people around it, they say to those shady guys, if you have any problem, just call me. We're gonna give you lawyers. We're gonna give you everything because it's really important for us. If you have any problems, you're going to be released. In the first moment, the biggest scandal appeared. They say, I don't know who are these guys. The FBI started to make a really big investigation around these shady guys, and they discovered that they have a really nice connection with the first scandal, the Pentagon scandal, and those guys were the plumbers. Magic. In the meantime, Richard Nixon was a little bit paranoid about all this situation. I don't know why. You made everything fine with no issues, with no people arrested by the FBI or the CIA or I don't know. Knowing that the FBI was investigating him, the president of the United States, he put some shady guy, Louis Patrick Gray. This person was a nepotism guy. He was placed after the death of J. Edgar Hoover. Edgar Hoover was the creator of the FBI. When he passed away, they didn't know who put in his place. The first idea was to put Mark Feld, that was the subdirector of the FBI. We need to remember something. The FBI, it has some kind of letter or something that says that it doesn't receive orders from the presidency. And a state inside a state is completely independent from the president. But if you are the president and you're a little bit crazy and in the middle Hoover died and you put one of your friends as a director, some people, they are not going to be really happy with that decision. So the FBI started to have a bunch of pressure from Nixon that not to investigate the president because the president is so awesome. The FBI people, they didn't like this kind of stuff. In the meantime, something appeared. Someone. I'm talking about the deep throat spy. The deep throat spy is something that is so enormous that I need to make a video after this one, because actually the scandal of the Watergate is much more the deep throat spy than the Nixon stuff. This kind of spy was someone that nobody knew who was. He started to leak some documents that were a little bit critic for the presidency of the Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon didn't like it because he was a so sensitive man. Why you're leaking this kind of information? Deep throat, he didn't leak any document, just the most horrible and damaging document for the poor and sexy Richard Nixon. Yes, and every document that he filtered was a disaster. Actually, Washington Post was fooling around with those documents. From time to time, a new document appeared from this guy, started to filter. 1973, we have issue with the oil problem. The oil, everybody knows that the oil issue that they have in 1973, actually, it lasts like 5 months. But for Americans, the American people, if they need to go outside to buy some cigarettes, they go just with a car. They're not able to walk. I don't know why, but they like to go in car. That's how American works. People didn't like it. Watergate scandal wasn't really good for the president. In 1975, 3 years after the scandal, he decided to quit. The first president of the United States that quit. We need to make a small stuff around the impact of the culture of the Watergate stuff. We have, for example, this kind of box that they work with a telephonic whatever, with a transmitter that sends the audio to a truck outside. This image of the lavender truck that everybody knows about, the spying, they're spying you. It's part of the Watergate scandal. Then we have the shady guy dressed as a gadget inspector in one garage trying to give you one information that nobody knows. But it's funny because Deep Throat and the journalists that publish all the stuff in Washington Post, Bob Woodward, where they were friends, they knew each other. Nobody's watching, isn't it? Nobody's following you. Oh my God, someone follow me! Was part of also that culture that they have this kind of informant in the garage, and now the informants are not allowed in garages, I guess. Ladies and gentlemen, please like, comment, subscribe, and please tell me, you were the one that was stealing documents in the Democratic Party? Fijne dag.